What is up, everybody? Facebook Live, here we go. Let's knock this one out of the park. All right, guys, we are going to talk about emotional eating, binge eating, uh, whatever you want to call it, going through vicious cycles of crash dieting, all the things that we're constantly dealing with. But, sometimes there's just not a lot of guidance on it. There's the diets, right? Follow this diet, take this pill, do this supplement. This supplement can help, but let's really dive into something that most of us are either struggling with now or have struggled with at some point. I've struggled with this for a really long time. I think no matter how good you get at dieting, no matter how good you get at exercising, we will always struggle this battle against emotional eating, binge eating, and it plays completely in line with our environment, 100%. I mean, think about everything around us. Think about all the roadblocks, everything that we face every day, right? The advertisements on your phone, the advertisement on your TV, food in the break room, food for your kids, going out to eat, drive-throughs, smells, sights, everything it seems like today is kind of working against us. So no matter what diet you go on, it's hard to get this part under control. This is the hardest part to get under control because it's so impactful on an emotional level, and it has the ability to cloud your judgment when it comes to logic and your intuition, right? Because your intuition knows what you need to eat for your body. Your logic knows, based on your education, what's good and what's bad. Your emotion is the one that comes in out of left field, clouds all your judgment, makes you make a poor decision, and then you regret it, which triggers more emotion. As humans, we suffer from this all the time. So knowing our environment, knowing we have access to the resources to fix it, like communities, education, diets, supplements, etc., I think the biggest key component to all of this is understanding a little bit of the science behind it. Getting into your own head, what's going on in your own head, so that you can take control of the situation. That's all it is, guys. It's just simply a lack of control. It's simply a lack of control, and it's something that we could take control over if we are aware and intentional with a lot of the things that we do. And look, guys, I'm not going to sit here and fill your heads with a bunch of crap about, go be better people and you got this. And, I'm not here to do that at all. I'm here to just give you the facts, what we have seen, what I have experienced, and what I think can work for people. That's it. You may get nothing out of this. Oh, well, thanks for watching. This may be a game changer. And if this can help one person, that's all that matters. And I hope you guys can stay on as long as you can. I'll try to keep this pretty short to about a little under 25 minutes. Okay. So, I think the first thing, knowing kind of why we do it, right? We all have our own individual personal reasons, right? Some of us will say, man, it's the stress. I'm stressed out. I don't sleep enough. It's my environment. It's my kids. We all have these excuses in a sense, right? And I know we're going to sit back and we're going to go, no, they're not excuses. These are real things. But in your mind, you've created this reality that it is an excuse for why you do the act. Even though you know the act is not good, we do it because we regret it almost every single time, right? Because it takes us further away from our goals, whatever your goals may be. It doesn't really matter, but it takes us further away. So I think it's crucial to hone in on 4 different things. 4. See, I'm going to go straight in right now, guys. I'm done talking with like the universal logic stuff. We're going into 4 things, okay? What I believe are the 4 things that trigger emotional eating, binge eating, falling off the wagon, whatever you want to call it. And I think these are the 4 things that we can relate to. Now, you're either going to relate to one of them, or you're going to relate to some of them, or you're going to relate to all of them. And then I want to help try to alleviate all of these symptoms, or whatever you want to call it, okay? I think the number one for most of us is stress. Number one is stress. So if you think that you emotionally eat or binge eat or anything because of stress, shoot me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it so I can know that I'm on track. Stress is probably the number one thing. Now, stress comes in multiple different forms. Now, it's important to understand this process, because if you understand this process, you're going to be able to do what? You're going to be able to take control. When you take control, the ball is in your court. So if you mess it up, that's on you. You're just lazy. But I'm going to try to give you a perspective so that you can take control. So number one is stress. Stress comes in multiple forms, right? You're stressed out at work, stressed out from family, stressed out from all the tasks you have to do all day, every day. So I want to dig in a little bit to the science of stress, okay? I'm not going to sit here and tell you all these different things that can stress you. You know what stresses you out. I don't need to sit here and explain it to you. But let's talk a little bit about the science behind stress. So, you know, when you get stressed out, you guys have probably heard of cortisol, right? Cortisol goes up. Cortisol goes up when you get stressed out, right? So we will dive into that, and I'm going to explain to you why and how that happens, okay? Why and how that happens. And you will be able to understand, identify it in the moment, and I'm going to show you some things that we can do to try to solve it. Number one is stress, and that is directly correlated. The binging, the food, all of that comes from mainly from the cortisol, the increase, the spike in cortisol that happens from the stress. Number two, habit. This is a conditioning, guys. We get into habits. We are creatures of habits. So if we get into a routine, it could either be the best thing for us or the worst thing for us, because habits will do things whether they're good or bad. And a lot of those habits come with food, right? And I fall victim to that all the time. Like I'll give you an example. If you have ice cream in the fridge, right? It doesn't mean you have to eat the whole thing, but every night, if you're like, all right, couple scoops, you get into the habit of just taking a couple scoops, even if you don't need the couple scoops. You get into the habit, right? Ordering dessert at a restaurant. Most people. Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened. Am I still good? My webcam just switched over. 1 second. Oops. Sorry about that, guys. So habit conditioning. Okay, guys. So we get conditioned. We get conditioned to do these habitual things, whether they're good or bad. Right? Good or bad, we will habitually do them, and it's a habit. It's ordering dessert at a restaurant. Even though we know we're not even hungry, we just are in a habit of ordering a dessert or ordering an appetizer, or drinking a soda with our meal. We don't even need it, nor do we really want it. We're just conditioned. We're conditioned to do it. Okay. Number three, comfort. Comfort is another big one. Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on with my video here, but it's kind of freaking out. We're back. Comfort. Why comfort? Comfort is the path of least resistance. We want to do things that are comfortable, right? It's harder to go work out. It's easier to sit on the couch. It's harder to cook the good food. It's easier to eat the fast food. So comfort, the path of least resistance, always plays into it. Okay? Sorry about that, guys. I think I should be good. Am I good? Cool. Okay. The next one, the fourth one, is deficiencies. Now, this one's going to have a little light bulb moment for you guys, and I'm gonna dive into it. So, deficiencies are the scientific reasons, aside from the cortisol. Deficiencies in your body from a chemical standpoint, right? Like macros and micros, vitamins and minerals, proteins, carbs, and fats. When you have deficiencies taking place, your body will naturally crave whatever it's lacking or whatever it's deficient in, right? So it could be a vitamin, it could be vitamin C, B vitamins, or it could be a macro or a micro. So this is going to come from things like crash dieting, over exercising, under eating, things like that, okay? Now, everything that I just talked about, the 4 different things, stress, habit, comfort, deficiencies, okay? All of those 4 things, they have one very important thing in common. They all have a trigger. And this is what we can all identify with. This is the key to being successful with this, okay? Identifying the trigger. So no matter what, whether it's from personal stress, and this is eating, right? This is the binge eating, the emotional eating. Whether it's from personal stress, environmental stress, habit, conditioned habits, path of least resistance, just a comforting environment, or deficiencies in your body, there's always a trigger associated, right? The trigger, think of the trigger as this. The trigger is the decision that you make in your head to actually go forward with doing, right? Because, I mean, look, we drive by, like, right? You might drive by the donuts. You might walk by the donuts, but you're not going to eat the donuts every single time. But you think about it. We all do. Of course we do. They smell good, right? Think about Cinnabon in the mall. You smell it from a mile away. The thought crosses your mind, but you don't actually do it. So the times that you do it, that's the trigger. When you're stressed out and you come home and you see something, you smell something, you touch something, that's the trigger, okay? It could be a thought, it could be physical, it could be, like I said, something you smell, you see, could be habitual, but we all have a trigger. If you cannot identify the trigger, you will never solve the problem. Identifying the trigger and exposing the trigger is what gives you the control, right? Because we can all agree that when we do something, we're always like, oh man, I regret that. I shouldn't have done that. But we do it anyway. So what triggered us to do something, I just said it automatically. When we do something that we don't want to do, it was triggered by something, right? So when you identify the trigger and you expose the trigger, here's the crazy thing. You get in a habit of identifying the trigger. We are creatures of habit. So if you continuously identify the trigger, what happens? You start to do it naturally, identify the triggers. When you identify the trigger, then you have control. We make those decisions without control. Okay? We make those decisions without control. And look, you have to really think hard about the trigger, okay? Because it's not just like a universal thing. It's not the habit or it's usually a very specific thing. It could be something from your childhood. It could be something in a smell. It could be a place. It could be something very specific. You can't let it be general, because if it's general, then you can't fix it. You can't be like, oh, my trigger is where I live, so I can't physically move, so I guess I'm kind of screwed. No. That is the path of least resistance. That is simply the same thing that's causing the downfall is causing even more of a downfall, okay? So, like, for example, stress. Stress itself is not the trigger. It's not, because we get stressed all day for everything. Exercise is stress. Walking upstairs is stress. There's stress everywhere. It's something at a very particular time of your day that happens that is the trigger. There's something that leads to the trigger, okay? So identifying the trigger gives you the control, okay? So anyway, I don't want to go off on a tangent on that. I want to go back to the stress, okay? I want to go back to the stress, because at a point, it feels like it gets so bad that it feels like you have an addiction and you can't do anything about it. And that is your brain just overcoming. That is your brain just controlling you is what it is. It's the emotional part simply controlling your intuitive ability and your logical ability to think. That's all it is. And when it taps into that true addictive state, it's very hard to fix, because we come up with reasons why we can't fix it. You know, I'm just too stressed out. There's just nothing I could do. That can be fixed. Identifying the triggers, reducing the stress, okay? I'm just addicted to something. I'm addicted to this candy. I can't stop. That's not true. It's identifying the trigger that actually gets you to eat it, and then reverse engineering it and replacing it with something else to replace the habit that was created, to reform a new habit, a habit of identifying the trigger, and a habit of replacing it with something else in that place until you can gain control and then stop it altogether. There's always, always a way. But if the emotion, which is triggering, right, not the full trigger, but within the emotion, if that is powering it, if that is the foundation, the judgment is always going to be cloudy, always. So let's go back to stress, okay? Stress. Let's talk about the science of stress. Cortisol, okay? Cortisol does this, okay? It increases when you're stressed out. Your cortisol level goes up, which blood sugar will go up, right? Boom, it spikes up. It's just a natural, instinctive response to added stress to the body. So here's the downside of cortisol. Think of it this way. What goes up must come down. So it spikes up and then it crashes down. Well, during that crash, what happens is there becomes a depletion in the glycogen. Well, what does depletion mean? It means getting rid of. What is glycogen? Glycogen is sugar. It's carbs, any carbs, a depletion, okay? The body always reacts to something. So if there's a depletion, what is it going to do? It's going to crave a carb. Why does it crave a carb and nothing else? Because carbs are the fastest digesting macro that you could possibly put into your body. Carbs will start to digest in the lining of your mouth depending on the types of carbs. So the worse the crash, this is how smart your body is. The worse the crash, the higher glycemic, which means it absorbs faster, the higher glycemic the carb will be that your body craves. Why does it do that? That's a survival mechanism. It wants to replenish glycogen stores. It wants to give you the energy that you've lost. So it goes back into its memory bank and it starts to think about things that have a very high glycemic load. That's why you'll think about things like candy. You'll think about things from foods you used to eat in your childhood, right? Cereals, candy bars, or whatever. You'll think of one specific thing. You don't sit there and go, oh man, I'm just so craving carbs right now. Or you don't go, let me just make that sound better. No, man, I'm so craving glucose right now. You don't do that. You're like, oh, I'm craving Skittles. Oh, I'm craving bread, right? Like immediate. So just think about that. Think about the science in that. For you to be able to identify what that food is on the spot right after the trigger happens means that the brain had to go into its memory bank, identify a carb that it knew it was going to digest very fastly, and tell you to crave it, just like an addict craves a drug. Tell you to crave it. And now you have to fight that resistance. Now, if you're fighting the resistance, then the trigger comes. And if you don't identify the trigger, then the trigger gets you to eat the food. And that's the vicious cycle. Because if you do the vicious cycle over and over again, what happens? You create a habit. When you get into the habit of the vicious cycle, you cannot stop. This is arguably the biggest issue with most people, okay? So now let's talk a little bit about how can we counterbalance that? We have a lot of stress. Well, we've all heard this before, exercise. But I don't think I don't want to go out there and go, oh, go exercise and be like everybody else that says that crap. No, it's not just about exercise. It's about movement. Your body needs to move. Why? Because if there's movement, then there's circulation, blood flow, circulation. Your body has to adapt to the movement. If you don't move, it can only get worse. It can only be worse. Movement will ensure that the processes in your body are still flowing. So that could be, don't think you got to go get crazy and like go to the gym and get this big gym membership. You just got to move. You got to move. Think about when your triggers are. Think about sometimes when you do emotionally eat. What if you were moving at that time to take your mind out of that situation, out of that stressful situation, and allow your body to de-stress itself through movement? Blood circulation, so you don't have the spikes and the dives. So movement is probably the number one thing you could do. Number two, more sleep. Get more sleep. Most of you guys will use this as an excuse and say, I can't sleep more. I physically cannot sleep more, which is an absolute lie, unless you're like a nurse or something else like that. But still, you get days off, things like that. Look, you have to get enough sleep. The more stressed you are in your environment, the more sleep you need. Why? You always have to understand the why. It's not just about me telling you get more sleep. Like we know that. Why? Because you have to regenerate your body. You have to recover your body. Cell regeneration, recovery. Otherwise, why do you think we even would need to sleep in the first place? You have to recover. You have to take your body out of that depleted state so that it can battle, the next things. Literally, you guys, some of you are hitting plateaus just because you're not sleeping enough. Like literally that would solve all your problems, and you're wasting all your money on a bunch of shit that's just not gonna work. Literally because you just need to sleep an extra couple hours. It will make all the difference in the world. So sleeping will help. It will help your body recover, okay? Managing blood sugar. That's another big one that will help with stress levels. What does that mean? A lot of us don't eat in the morning, or we're scared of carbohydrates, or we're eating very low calorie meals throughout the day because we're trying to watch our figure or lose weight, and we're crash dieting. So that is causing a depletion that's affecting your blood sugar levels. Your body is instinctive. The moment you start to be depleted, it will crave something. So you're actually creating the addiction just simply by not eating. So you can take your food and you can spread it out throughout the day. Now, do I think this is a lifestyle, spreading your food out amongst 5 meals a day? Absolutely not. But for a short period of time, what it can help you do is it can help you recondition yourself. It can help you recondition the stressors, right? It can help you take control. Why? Because it shifts your environment. You're forced to eat smaller meals. You're forced to spread them out. It allows you to be uncomfortable, which allows you to change, which allows you to get into a different habit. See what I'm saying? So managing blood sugar by spacing out your meals, that will help a little bit, okay? It's not gonna be a game changer, but it will help. Not that the food is gonna do anything, it's just the disruption in the pattern that you have for the day, okay? The fourth thing I would recommend out of that is adaptogens. Now, I know a lot of you guys are gonna say, oh man, I got these adaptogens, I take this. That's cool. There's a lot of things out there that have adaptogens in them. Just Google it, literally, okay? Now, there's a reason I said adaptogens number 4. Because if you don't take care of the first 3, the adaptogens will work at the beginning, but just like anything else, if you don't correct the source of the problem, your body will just become tolerant to the adaptogens and they will stop working. It's not that the adaptogens don't work, it's your body doesn't recognize them anymore. It becomes tolerant to them because you didn't fix the root of the problem, okay? So don't go to the adaptogens as the first line of defense. The first line of defense is probably movement, moving your body at the times, going for walks, just moving, getting more sleep, and managing your blood sugar. That will drastically change your stress levels, okay? And then I'm talking outside of the obvious, guys. Like the obvious is don't be stressed out, like chill out, take a chill pill. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm not here to get on a live and tell you the obvious. I'm trying to educate you on things that maybe you're not thinking about, give you a different perspective. Like, okay, if I'm stressed, I know I need to just move a little bit. Let's just start with a little bit of movement. Let's try to get a little bit more sleep. It's all in little increments, even if it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour more. I'm gonna try to get more sleep. Okay, I'm gonna try to manage my blood sugar better. Maybe I'm eating really high glycemic foods that are throwing off my blood sugar and it's contributing to my stress. I'm gonna try to spread out my foods a little bit, just try it for a week. Okay, I'm also gonna add an adaptogen. I'm gonna add an adaptogen to my day. Adaptogens are in teas, they're in powders, they're in all sorts of different things. There's a lot of natural adaptogens. Now, you are taking control of your stress because only you can modify the things going on in your environment that are stressful. Because if you don't take that control, you will never be able to do what? Identify the trigger. The control allows you to identify the trigger. And when you identify the trigger, you have full control over when this stuff happens. It's just, you create homeostasis in your mind, in your body, okay? Now, that was number 1. Now let's go to the number 2 thing, habit. We are all conditioned out of habits. That is, we know that. We have habits to eat these foods or that foods or that food or do this or do that out of habit. Even though we know it's bad, we still do it. So we gotta recondition our habits, okay? We can do that, number 1, by replacing, this is why this is number 1, replacing bad habits with good habits. The worst thing, you ever go to think about a drug addict and you tell them to just immediately stop. Can they stop? No, they can't. They're addicted, just like the worst form of habit, okay? So instead, if you have a food addiction or you're binging all the time or whatever, the first thing you could do is replace it, right? So if you're eating really bad ice cream at night, you can replace it with something healthier like gelato or something that's non-dairy, something that's super clean and healthy. You replace it just to create a better internal environment, and then you work on the triggers, and then you slowly reduce it, okay? You can replace bad food with a good version, right? Can always do that. There's always, typically nowadays, you have access to a healthy version on almost anything that you're doing. It's the same reason why, you know, you could be drinking soda all the time and then replace it with like another carbonated, like water, sparkling water, because you're still feeding into the addiction, but you've replaced it with something new and healthy. I'll give you an exercise example. There's people who were addicted to drugs, and then they were so good, they were so habitually good at taking drugs that they shifted their habit into something positive like running. And they become like ultra marathoners because they just simply used the same habit that they got really good at taking drugs. They just swapped it out for something good for their body. That is a manipulation that you can play with your own mind, which is kind of cool in a weird way. So replacing habits with good ones, for sure. Replacing bad foods with the healthy alternatives, okay? For example, if you have a sugar craving, replace the candy with fruit. Don't sit here and go, oh, well, fruit's bad. It's not bad. You're better off you're better off binging on a giant fruit bowl than you are a bowl of candy. Like, how can you not argue that right there? That's common sense. You want to know why you'd rather do the candy? Because it's convenient. Because you're lazy. At least if you're gonna binge, just binge on something healthy. Like, it starts with those little steps. Look, can binging on fruit bowls every night make you fat? Probably, from an overconsumption of sugar, of course. But it's not just about that. It's about your internal environment. Is your internal going to be healthier than your internal would be if it was candy, a bowl of candy instead of a bowl of really good fruit? Even if you're not losing weight, this is all in baby steps. Here's the other thing that it gives you control. It gives you control. And when you take control, you can make the lifestyle modifications over time. So I'm going to give you an example. We were talking to somebody about a candy that they couldn't stop eating, right? Go to the store, know you shouldn't have the candy, you still buy it. Even though you know you shouldn't have it, you still buy it, you take it home, you know you shouldn't eat it, and you eat it anyway. And you keep doing it. And it's a full addiction. And maybe some of you guys do this with other things too. This is what I argued to the person. I didn't argue, but this was my recommendation to the person. I said, how about this? Let's do a perspective shift, and let's change your intention behind it, okay? Because you're going into the store and your intention, right? Your intention is not to buy it and not to eat it. So what do we always want to do when we're told not to do something? We want to do it, right? I mean, it happens every time. It happens to all of us. So I said, do this. You need to shift the environment, the trigger, and the control, okay? Do it this way. Go to the store with the intention of buying the candy. Not buying the candy, buying the candy. So you're intentionally going there. You got your eyes on the candy. I'm here to buy you, right? Why? Step number one, control. Before, you went in knowing you shouldn't buy that candy. Then you bought the candy. So who controlled that situation? The candy. So who's going to control the rest of the situation? The candy. The emotional connection to the candy. But now you went in with a different intention. I'm here to buy you, candy. Now you buy the candy, so the candy's like scared because, I know it's going to sound funny, candy's all nervous because you came in like with authority. Like, I have a purpose for you. Have a purpose for you, and I'm in control of the purpose, right? I'm buying the candy. Now what do? You take the candy home and you put that candy on display. You don't hide it. That was the other intention. That was the other environment. That was the environment where you were controlled. Now we are taking control. You go to the store, you with intention, you buy that candy, you take it home, you put it on display where you can see it every day sitting right there. And you put a note on it and you say, do not sell out to yourself. Do not sell out to yourself. Do not eat me. Okay? Put candy out there. Your intention is that candy is going to sit there for 1 week. I am committing to myself. I will not eat that candy for 1 week under my circumstances. And at the end of that week, I'm giving it to somebody. Okay? I'm going to gift it to somebody or throw it away. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Okay? I don't really say, I don't want to contribute to giving candy to people. But for the sake of the story, imagine you're going to give it to somebody. Okay? Now, you don't want to you committed to giving that candy to somebody, but you're going to stare at it every single day for a week just simply to prove to yourself that you intentionally put that candy there under your own terms. Why is that important, guys? Because it gives you control of the situation. It gives you control. Let me tell you why it works. I used to do that when I was bodybuilding, okay? When I was bodybuilding, let me tell you what I did. The best thing that I did was the first 2 diets I ever put myself on, I never cheated. You know what happened? I created a habit out of not cheating. I physically could not cheat because I didn't cheat before. So I couldn't cheat. So then what happened was when I realized that I had the control, I would test myself. Now this is going to sound kind of weird. I would go places intentionally that I knew I could not eat the food just to test myself. Because the moment I got through it the first time, I wanted to prove to myself I could do it again and again and again and again. I got so comfortable with the control that I had over the food. You could be shoving the food in my face and I wouldn't eat it simply because I controlled the situation with intention there. You cannot sell out to yourself. You can't. You cannot sell out. Do not do it. The only way you will not do it is you got to take control, okay? You have to. It's the only way. Now, next thing I'm going to talk about is comfort, okay? Comfort. The comfort level thing, right? It's comforting. You're in a comfortable environment, so you want to comfort yourself with the food. That's a byproduct of the habit and the stress. It really is. When you really break it down, the comforting is a habit of is a byproduct of stress and habit. 100%, because you're like, there's a reason you want to get comforted, right? And usually it has something to do with stress. And there's a reason you continuously do it kind of the same, with the same foods, at the same times, in the same situation, which is habit. So the comfort thing can be solved by identifying the habit and the stress portion. The comfort thing just goes away naturally because it's a byproduct. Changing the environment is everything, guys. You got to get those things out of your environment. I know that's hard to do. A lot of you guys will say, well, what about my kids? I got my kids. I got the food. Look, there is healthy alternatives to everything. If you are choosing, that is a choice to give your kids bad food. That is a choice. Now, I know some of you are going to say, it's convenient, it's cheap, it's blah, 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 blah. Hey, look, it's your life. You do what you want. That's your kid's health that you are responsible for. Would you want that to be done to you? I know I wouldn't. I mean, I grew up on fast food. I won't do that. I will not do that to my kids because I know what it did to me growing up on fast food. So that's on you. That's a choice. I'm not going to sit here and persuade you one way or the other. Okay? The fourth thing is what I want to get into because I'm already went down a rabbit hole on this. Deficiencies. This is important for you guys to understand. Deficiencies going on in your body, okay? Macros and micros. So, think about it this way, okay? Have you ever just randomly craved something, like something very specific, like a steak, right? You know, most of us crave carbs, but sometimes you're just like, man, I'm craving a steak. Craving a steak. Do you know that you could have an iron deficiency in your body, and your body your body goes into its memory bank and it goes, where at what point in the history of my food intake did I intake a lot of iron? Oh, that one time when I went to that steakhouse and I had this big juicy steak. Then all of a sudden you're craving a steak. I'm not joking, the body works this way. You could be craving a steak simply because you have a deficiency in something. You know how sometimes you randomly crave fruit? You could be deficient in something that fruit contains. That's how smart your body is. It is that smart. Why do you think on a low carb diet, you crave carbs? Why do you think on a low fat diet, you crave fats? Why do you think on a crash diet, you just crave calories? And not just calories, you crave calorically dense foods, fried foods, fast foods. Not because you're not getting them, because your body is so deficient in macros all around, it's not craving healthy foods. Why? Because healthy foods are not calorically dense. What is calorically dense? All the shitty foods. All the shitty foods are calorically dense. So your body craves calorically dense foods. It's a lot simpler than you think. That's why whenever you go on a crash diet, you always rebound. Always. Because that's why if the calories are too low, and I know a lot of you guys, drink shakes and eat meals with your shakes, and some of you are working out a lot and you're eating whole foods, and you have this mindset where less is more, the moment you start becoming deficient is the moment your body starts craving because of its biological needs. I'm sorry, you will lose that battle. You will, 100%. You will lose the battle to your body's biological needs every time. So you cannot undereat. You cannot have too much restriction. The same thing goes for a lack of variety in your food. Think about it. Even if you're on a good diet plan, if there's not variety, you could be deficient in something. You could still be on a good diet and be deficient in macros and micros. Macros are proteins, carbs, and fats. Micros are vitamins and minerals. That's why it's important to be on a type of plan that allows versatility in the food that you're eating, a type of plan or program that is not forcing you to undereat and over-exercise, and a place where you could be in a community to learn in real time, because you got to be able to ask these questions. You got to be able to ask these questions. I see some people that are craving specific foods, right? You got to think about it. There could be things in that food that your body is biologically deficient in, which is absolutely crazy, right? Like it's crazy. So it's crazy to think about all of these: stress, habit, comfort, deficiencies. It all leads back to the triggers. Identifying the triggers, taking control, and then reformulating based on whatever your environmental conditions are, okay? Which means it could be replacing a habit. It could be just mean more sleep. It could mean managing your food portions better. These are all little things that can easily be changed, and adding a little bit of adaptogens to your body can help manage the stress levels. Remember, everybody is different. So I'm not going to sit here and say, do this, do that, do this, do that. Nobody has the answer for you. Nobody has the diet. The diet that you're out looking for does not exist. Just like I tell people with our programs, the macros are not the secret. I do not have some secret formulation. I do not create some secret special macros for you at all. It has nothing, actually, your transformation has nothing to do with the macros at all. Same thing with the diets, has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with you self-identifying, self-discovering what your blueprint is. And if you can't balance this stuff, you'll never find it. You got to balance the stress. You got to balance the habits. You got to balance the comfort, and you got to balance the deficiencies. So these are my tips to you. Cycle your food. Do not undereat and over-exercise. Do not do that. Those are easy things to do, okay? Manage your food intake. Do not have inconsistent food intake. That's easy to do. Change your intention and replace your habits. If you have bad habits, don't try to knock them. Just simply replace them. Make it fun. Google healthy alternatives to the worst habits that you have. Start there. It's not about what you replace it with. It's the simple fact that you took control with more intention, which is going to allow you to do what? I keep saying this. It's going to allow you to identify the triggers. The moment you take control is the moment you identify the triggers. The moment you identify the triggers is the moment your lifestyle changes. That's the moment that you can walk into the donut store and not want a donut. You smell it, say it smells good, but I don't actually want that donut because everything else is in homeostasis. Internal homeostasis is the secret. If you guys want to know the secret to everything, it's internal health. Homeostasis in internal means your macros and your micros are balanced. They're versatile. Your gut health is good. Your immunity is good. Your sleep is good, and your stress levels are controlled. That is the ideal situation. You figure that out. You figure that out. Whatever body, I've said this before, whatever body you're supposed to have will happen naturally. You will lose weight naturally. You will put on lean muscle naturally, simply by focusing on the internal. So guys, I'm going to cut this live off. I've been talking for too long. Make sure you set yourself up this year, okay? We're only a couple months into the year. Set yourself up. Get yourself into a community where you can learn about this stuff and you can apply this stuff to your blueprint, your genetic blueprint. Find that place. Get yourself educated, okay? That is the key. There is no diet. There is no supplement. There is no pill that is going to fix you. You are going to fix you simply by taking control, and nothing feels better than when you have control over all of it. The emotion, the triggers, the foods. Because then when you do, I'm not going to sit here and say you're never going to eat bad. I'm not going to say that. Because you will. You will have a burger. You will have a piece of pie. You will have a glass of wine. But you're going to do it on your own terms. That's the difference. That's the intuitive eating. You're going to make those decisions on your own terms with intention, not on some other terms, not in an uncontrolled environment. Remember, guys, don't sell out. Don't sell out. This entire industry will try to tell you that you can fix it with this powder. You could fix it with this meal plan. And you can fix it. No, only you can fix it. And the only way that you can fix it is to get educated and to be in a community of people doing the same thing as you so you can hold yourself accountable. Because remember, the one person we will always let down is ourselves. Always. We will always let ourselves down. So when you're in a community of people trying on the same mission as you, trying to do the same thing you are, you will not let that community down. It can only work to your advantage. Okay? Don't sell out to you. Don't sell out to the industry. Educate yourself, apply it, identify what those things are. Take control of your stress, your habits, your comfort zones, and the deficiencies. Bring homeostasis, take control of the triggers, and you will have an amazing experience on this journey of health and wellness, because our environment is so shitty that it will become fun for you, because this journey will never end. It will never, never, never end. All right, guys, I am out of here. Hope you enjoyed that live. Please let me know if you have any questions. Mention me in the comment. Mention Brianna Owen. Mention Lauren Kreider. Mention Lisa Dixon. Any of us. We will get back to you every single time. I'm probably also going to share this in Willpower Nation. Willpower Nation Facebook group is a free group for anybody to go and get accountability. Go and get educated. Go and ask us questions. Willpower Nation Facebook group. If you're not in it, get in it. And if you want stuff from us, get on our email list. Get on our email list. We also have a new software where we can send people messages in Facebook Messenger. Okay, so if you want notifications for these lives, you want some free stuff we're giving away, you want some blogs we're writing, all the educational stuff, let us know. We can probably get you on that list. We're testing the software out. We get that directly to your Facebook Messenger, which everything's about convenience, right? All right, guys, I'm out of here. Hope you have a good Sunday. Hope you have a good week. And I will see you guys in Willpower Nation.